Okay, so the first part is this basic procedure. State and spell your first and last name for us.
All right, Benjamin Elliott, Benjaminiellioott.
And where are you from?
I'm from Coffee County, Georgia.
Why do you think you were chosen for this?
I'm not really sure why I was chosen for this. I thought it was a few years ago.
Fair enough. What are the religious social groups that you're a member of?
I'm pretty involved on campus in HSA and Honors College, but actually, back home, because of my girlfriend, I regularly attend a Spanish-speaking Catholic church, which is someone who, kind of grew up in, the standard Baptist thing and all that, and, went to a private school and all that. It's kind of a culture that I'm not really got to see prior to this.
Okay, so the first category is related to behaviors and experiences. So the question is if you can sort of factor into the norms and behaviors of these experiences. That's important. So number one, describe a food experience that you've had as part of a religious or social event.
Okay. I would say, just speaking generally about the Hispanic culture thing. Every time I go over there, it's a little bit of a food experience because it's always things that I've never heard of before, usually can't pronounce, and just have never seen before. My family's very basic, mashed potatoes and steak and whatnot. Whereas over there, we're having ceviche and picaritas and whatnot, and it's actually very interesting. I'm taking to the point now where whenever I go over, I actually like to cook, so I help them out in the kitchen, and that's been extremely interesting. It's been awesome.
How do you feel when you're with an extended group of family or friends as part of a religious or social event where food is served?
Food is served. I would say that I'm better in situations where I'm familiar with what's going on. I would say that in reference to that situation, as someone who is not fluent in Spanish, it's mostly everything's always been in Spanish, so I've just kind of been there. It's kind of hard to feel out of place. I mean, obviously you feel out of place not speaking the language, but you don't feel necessarily socially awkward from the idea that you don't necessarily have much to offer in your conversation. You always kind of have to use someone else as a passerby. Because, for example, her family and a lot of people there, are with, do not speak very good English, so it's kind of, you have to go through that. But because of the language barrier, I would say it's both a negative and a positive, because as I always say when I talk about it, when you have a filter that you have to go through, it's really hard to say something stupid.
Are there specific norms or expectations at these events where the food is served? And what are the protocols, such as who eats first, who prepares the food, who speaks for the group?
Traditionally, as far as food preparation, because that's just one my mind latched onto first, it seems to be mostly the women, usually. Whenever I try to help out, like initially I help out a lot now, but they're always kind of like, oh no, you can just go kind of sit down and do your own thing or whatever. That was that. Usually the guys eat first because the women are setting the table. It's very patriarchal. I don't remember the third part of that question.
Well, specific norms or expectations where the food is present.
I would say that's about it. Yeah.
Good. Are these events very lively or more subdued?
It depends which events. I've been to everything from small family birthdays to church events to quinceañeras, and it's kind of running the full spectrum. It's a little bit of everything here. I definitely prefer the more subdued ones though, personally.
Mm-hmm. The next category, we're going to look at opinions and values, so if you can factor that into these answers. Are these events something that the extended group anticipates with enthusiasm?
Oh yeah, they all really look forward to them. They get very excited. Your whole family loves them.
What are some of the behaviors there that kind of represent that?
It depends. It really depends on the event. Usually it depends on how close they are to the people involved. Like they have this kind of thing where I think, and it's hard for me to speak personally because again I'm an outside observer to the entire cultural situation, but they do tend to, her family always goes to people's events that they don't necessarily know that well, and you can tell they're a little bit more hesitant there, but when it's people they're close with, they're much more excited. So it's really all about the closeness between the different families and whatnot.
Do these events create or maintain a social cohesion or stability from your perception?
I believe so. From what I can tell, in the little bit of Hispanic culture I've seen, especially Catholic Hispanic culture, they're all the church is their central unit. So it's kind of a way, I guess, to draw them together because their general schedule is they meet once per week, only on Sundays for mass, which isn't necessarily. As someone who grew up Baptist, it's a bit of a different church experience. Whereas in Baptist church, you have a lot of time where people interact. A Catholic, in Spanish service. I don't know how traditional or authentic it is, but it's very. I don't want to say it's not personal, but there's not as much interaction as you see in others. But it's a very large church.
Very good. Do these events have a code of ethics or a way to reinforce social expectations or behavior?
I would say generally, just in the way that people care about how they perceive within their culture and what they consider to be their environment.
I think one thing I would kind of want to delve into for that is there a prayer?
Yes, sir. There's definitely a great deal of it.
And do they know when the prayer is initiated? Is if there's a lot of
yeah, it's the the kneeling and the standing on the little benches and whatnot.
And you would say that there's a strong sort of cohesive bond to that ritual?
I would say so in reference to the church, but I don't think that bond is necessarily reinforced within the church. I would say that while they're there, they do their things and whatnot. There's the general perception of no one wants to be the family that the other families didn't see go to church that Sunday, because that's like, oh, where's so and so. I feel like they reinforce the bonds more so outside of that environment, but definitely, I would say it's like. It's a little hard to say. I'm trying to think of a way here for a second. It's the unit, but it doesn't necessarily. It's like it's the ties that bind, but it's not the real connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the next category would be feelings and emotions. Are these events generally a positive part of the culture?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Everyone always is.
What would your observations be that would reinforce that it's positive?
All the events that I've been, able to attend have always been positive. So I mean, it's usually church holidays or someone's birthday or a quinceañera or events like that where it's not necessarily a sad event. It's always been very.
Is the participation and interest in these events declining or increasing?
I would say it's increasing the more that I know. I'm actually I'm considering picking up a Spanish minor in the near future. I'm through my second class, so I'm getting more and more of it as I go along, and I've been really into documentaries lately, so I've been watching things about Spanish American history and whatnot, and yeah, it's definitely increasing. It's interesting because we all the culture that someone grows up in is their perception. Everything that they know based on how people interact and how things are done is based off of the idea of what they perceive as normal because that's what they were born into. So to see how other people interact or their custom, whatever, it's interesting in the way that you can see that, okay, this is different, but it's kind of the same too, because there's kind of an underlying humanness to it, I guess, if that doesn't sound pseudo deep.
Oh, it's pretty on target. And obviously we have a second part to that. If it's increasing, is there reception? Are they receptive to the growth? And just from your answer, I would think that they're happy to have you involved.
Oh yeah, yes sir. It's been a slow progression the last 2 years from her family, her mom loving me and her dad not, to them being more and more welcoming of me. Now they just love to have me around to be over there. So yeah, I would say so. And the extra, the non, I guess, primary family members that I've met as well have all been very receptive. So.
I think you addressed the question about whether it's patriarchal or matriarchal, and how it's driven or derived.
Yes, sir.
You want to expound on that, or?
That's about. From my perspective, that's about as far as we go. Usually, it's more I go to, because I'm dating their daughter, and they like to see me around, and sure.
But are the women in more control or the men?
I would say the men are probably in more control, just from what I've seen.
Okay, this is a knowledge-based question. We're going to get into this category, your understanding of it. Are these events open to people outside of the intended social or religious group?
I would say absolutely. I would say that any awkwardness I felt initially wasn't necessarily tension or anything related to me. It was more, oh, I'm a young guy reading his girlfriend's dad. It's very, there's only so much calmness that can never really be achieved there.
And I think you did sort of give us some details in earlier answers also. Second, have any people outside of the intended social religious group attended an event? I think you've, outside of yourself, were you aware of any other outsiders?
Yes, sir. Whenever everyone, there was like friends, mutual friends and whatnot, can be usually invited to certain functions. And actually, for a little while, I was playing with their church band. So my family came once to see me play.
What do you play?
I play bass in that band.
Last question in the knowledge area. Are any of these events part or connected to any other social or religious groups that you know?
I would say so, just because, again, like I talked about other people coming in, it was always mutual friends in high school and whatnot, and now she's getting involved with things like that. And since it really is, it's a culture, I'd say absolutely, yeah, it really.
And where's the church located again?
The church is in Douglas, Georgia.
Douglas, right.
Yes, sir.
What's the name of it? It's okay.
I don't know, sir.
No, it's okay.
Off the top of my head.
Okay, now we're going to go to the final grouping of questions, personal experience. Can you describe a memory or an experience that reflects your relationship with a larger group? I think you've been kind of recounting that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move forward. And I think you also covered how did you become a member of this group through your relationship with your girlfriend. Why did you originally become a member?
To meet her family and try to make a good impression.
Makes sense. And how long have you been?
We've been dating for a little bit over 2 years now, but I only actually started going to functions and whatnot about 3 months ago.
But you're still ongoing. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm going to add my question. What is important to you?
In general, or in reference to the events, or
whatever you want to talk about?
I think the most important thing to me is definitely, above all else, I really pride compassion. Honestly, I think it's really important to take the time to understand other people and just be good to everybody, because there's not a reason not to be.
I love that. And that's it. That went by pretty quickly, and I had to restrain myself to quite an extent because